Keep it moving. Come on, what are you waiting on?
Hello and welcome. Oh wait, no, that's not what I say.
They're trashing our rights, man! They're trashing the fluid data!
Hey Matt.
Hey, Mike.
They're trashing! Trashing! Trashing!
You want to hack something?
Hack the planet.
Yeah.
Hack the planet!
Welcome everybody to Hacking the Grepson, not to be confused with Hacking the Gibson, which our podcast title is a play on. But hey, guess what, Matt? This is our 50th 50 episode.
Wow, this podcast is older than me.
Is your mind blown like in an to the extreme 90s kind of way?
Yes, it's got psychedelic colors for no reason, and all of the superheroes in my mind are extra buff.
Nice. So yes, once again, welcome to Hacking the Grepson. It is our 50th episode, so we thought we would do something very on brand, which is we watched the movie Hackers, which is a movie that came out in the mid-90s. It is where the name of our podcast originates from, which is Hack the Gibson, which is a saying that one of the characters says in the movie, which we'll explain. And I don't actually think I saw this movie when it came out, because I was like, I don't know, 14 or 15. I'd barely really been using a computer. We got our first computer at home in 1995, which was right about when this movie came out. So I had done like no hacking. I probably didn't even know really what that meant, like truly. And so I remember seeing probably previews for this movie, but I don't think I saw it. So my first viewing of this was like in my 40s now, like a week ago. What was your first exposure to the movie Hackers, Matt?
I'm pretty sure I saw this in the theaters.
Okay.
If not, it would have only been because of the rating. I'm not sure I would have been allowed because there's a very brief nudity at one point, and it's very brief.
Yes.
So I may have not been able to go see it in the theaters because I think I would have been about 16 when this came out.
Yeah.
I would have been. I think I was I either just about to start my senior year of high school or was going into my senior year of high school. Like I either just started or I was just about to when this came out. I watched it then. I was online in 95. I got a computer in 87, and I was online on local BBSs and stuff in most of the mid 90s. I was online. So this was very relevant to me in 1995.
Was this a movie that you went to go, that you were like you saw the preview and you were hyped to go see it, or was it just like a curiosity kind of thing?
No, I was absolutely hyped.
Do you remember how you felt about the movie when you saw it?
I loved
when
this
you were
movie.
A teenager.
Like it.
Okay.
I connected with it. Like it was like the first time I ever saw people like me depicted as being cool, right? Like the computer nerds are cool in this movie.
Right.
Well,
and
they're
there's
cool
even a
in their
girl.
circle. The girl hacker,
The girl hacker. Yeah.
played by Angelina Jolie, no less, in her like one of the first roles she ever did as like her breakout role. That's what I know her from.
Yeah. I mean, she's a very interesting actress that is the kind of person that would do both this and random action films and drama. You know,
She's
it's
the good
like,
kind of nepo baby. She does the work.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily have thought that she would be the actress to play the girl hacker in this kind of movie, but now seeing her catalog since then, I mean, I think it tracks pretty well.
Yeah. And disclaimer for the listeners, we're not referring to her as the girl hacker because we're being sexist. It's because in the movie they keep calling her that. Like multiple times in the movie, someone refers to her as the girl.
Right. She has, so all the characters in the movie have like usernames, code names, handles, whatever you want to call it. And
I miss handles.
Is that what they called it in the movie? Handles? I don't remember.
Yeah. There's a very brief
Okay.
scene with I think his name is Joey, who I don't think ever has gets a hacker name in the movie. He's also
he
the
does.
boyfriend. He's also the boyfriend from Bring It On. That same actor. Bothered. I'm like, what do I know this guy from? That's what I know him from.
Yeah, there's definitely people in it that I recognized besides Angelina Jolie. Young and in this. Well, let's just. I want to do a quick synopsis of the movie that I wrote. I'm not going to read this from Wikipedia because this is essentially my experience having just seen this movie like a couple weeks ago. And then we'll go over the characters, and then we can kind of get into some of our thoughts about it, and the infamous line "hack the Gibson." My synopsis of this, and then you're free to critique this in any way that you want, Matt. Is dude hacks into something when he's 11. He crashes 1,507 systems. They go back to that number, and he even corrects someone at some point when they say 1,500. He's like 1,507 systems, and he goes to court, and he gets put on probation for 7 years. So he's not allowed to own a computer or use a computer.
Or a touch-tone phone. They really lock him down. Which I'm just going to chime in here with this. This is one of the first notes I wrote as I was rewatching this. Is that's actually pretty accurate to what they did to people. If I look at someone like Kevin Mitnick, who was a big name in the hacker community, that's more or less what they did to him after he got caught. They're like, you cannot use a computer. And also lots of money. It's like,
yeah, I mean,
pay us a fine, and also you can't use a computer anymore.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like getting a guilty verdict for being an alcoholic, and them saying you may not drink alcohol for the next X number of years or something, because they basically saw it as an addiction that they had to keep them away from or something. Yeah.
Well, it was more that he was too dangerous. Although they do an addiction thing later on in the movie, which I thought is pretty funny. I don't remember it from my first watch, but it stood out to me on a rewatch.
Oh, that's right. There's the scene with Joey in like an AA meeting kind of a thing. That's true. So anyway, they flash forward 7 years. So he's
1995.
The main character's name is Dade, Dade. He moves to New York with his mom. He ends up finding other hackers because there's a big hacker scene in New York at the time.
And immediately in his high school, he finds the first person he talks to randomly in the high school is one of the main hackers. It's like, what?
Right. Well, one of the things he does when they first get to New York is, basically his social life is staying up till, all night hacking systems. And one of the first systems he hacks, I think when he's in New York, he ends up running into the other main character, played by Angelina Jolie, and her name is Kate, who catches him mid break-in, and big text goes on the screen saying hey, you're on my turf, get out of here, this isn't your space to hack, kind of a thing. So yeah, I mean, you're right, he immediately, for story reasons, finds these other hackers. They start hacking, they start a hacker collective together. He starts working his way into their group, and there's a bad guy played by Fisher Stevens who works for man, what was the name of the company?
Oh,
I don't remember. It was a manufacturing or something. It was super boring. I was surprised by that.
Company Ellingson Mineral Company.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not what I would have thought the big company would be.
I don't remember it being that. That doesn't. I remember where that comes into play, with the whole oil spill stuff that we'll talk about later. But I don't remember that was what the company did. Because in my mind, I'm like, why would they have such a fancy computer system? And it's really fancy. You still can't do most of the stuff that they do in this movie. In their knock in real life.
Yeah, the way they hack in this movie is truly glorious to observe. So they eventually they do some hacking. One of the hackers, Joey, whose code name is actually Freak, I believe, with a PH, phone freaking.
Freak is the guy who does the phone stuff.
And that's not Joey?
Nope, it's the guy with the curly hair, that he meets. The first hacker guy he meets. Joey's friend.
Man, I don't remember that character.
His name is Freak. No, there's a whole scene.
Well,
there's a whole scene where Joey and that guy are talking at the beginning where they were like, I need a handle, man. I'm not cool enough. I'm not cool if I don't have a handle.
Okay, so yes, I now remember the guy you're talking about. Yeah, he was a short guy with curly hair.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, you're right. He is talking to him at the school and trying to get a handle. So I guess Joey never gets a handle, or I don't remember what it was.
I think they might give him one right at the end.
As like a reward or something.
Yeah.
But Joey ends up he's like trying to prove himself, and so he hacks into the mineral company. Yeah, he's hacking into Gibson, which refers to a supercomputer at this company, and he hacks into it, and he finds this garbage file, which it's listed as garbage, but it actually has like confidential information in it, and he's trying to save it to a floppy disk. and they have one of those great mid-90s progress bars of someone like downloading something from a network onto a floppy disk, and it's slowly going in. They're like, come on, you gotta save it. And then they like kick him out of the system, and he's saved like...
His mom, it's like, you need to go to bed, and unplugs his computer. So it doesn't finish downloading.
It doesn't finish downloading, which should just corrupt the whole file, I think, as opposed to only get half of it.
Well, I assume he was using Z modem to download based on the time period, and Z modem would actually allow for some corrections, and you could probably unpack the file from there.
Okay, well,
I don't know. If
that's semi-realistic. So he basically gets like himself embroiled in this conspiracy because the bad guy who works for the company is actually trying to steal money from the company. Using a computer worm and a virus. There's both worms and viruses in this movie.
Yeah, it's worth noting that the worm that the plague introduces, the scheme that they're using there is the exact same scheme that they use in Superman 4 and in Office Space.
Office Space, yes, I noticed that.
Stealing pennies on transactions,
right?
So that no one will
never notice it,
and building up massive amounts of money.
Right, and then stealing it and going to the Cayman Islands or something. And you know the rest of the hacker collective, you know, they're like, oh, we gotta stop this. Dade's mom is like threatened by the bad guy. He's like gonna go into the computer system and screw up her record. Give her a criminal record, and he's like,
and then make her disappear.
Make her disappear, but you got to get me that floppy disk, dude. And anyway, they all get together and they end up hacking the Gibson successfully, but they get caught at the end by the Secret Service in real life. They point guns at them, they take them into custody, but the whole time they have this plan with this other character, played by Matthew Lillard, username Serial, as in Yum Yum Killer, whose
real name in the movie is Emmanuel Goldstein, which itself is a reference to the book 1984.
It's just layers upon layers.
There's a lot of weird references in this movie. Penn Jillette's character is named Hal, like after HAL 9000 from 2001.
From 2001, yeah. So just to finish up the synopsis, serial killer essentially threatens to... He basically reveals the bad guy's plan. And
to the world. He goes on
to the world,
international, like, displayed on everyone's TV, and he's like, yo, I kind of feel like God.
Well, right, because they show an image of like a satellite looking down at the Earth.
Yeah, and he's on one of the big screens in Times Square and like every country in the world. It's
pretty glorious. It's a pretty glorious little guy beats the big guy moment, and
it's very David
Gillespie. So they win in the end, and the bad guy goes to jail because they follow him on the plane that he's taking to whatever island he's trying to escape to. Man, he really sticks it to his female friend who's in on it with him at the end. Man, that was just mean.
The therapist from Sopranos is his female friend.
That's who that was. I know she looked really familiar, but I couldn't put where she was from. So we have Dade, who used to go by Zero Cool when he in his 11-year-old hacking days, and now goes by Crash Override. There's Kate, who goes by Acid Burn. There is Emmanuel Goldstein, who goes by Serial Killer. There's Joey, who's like the young kid who doesn't have a handle yet. He has a nasty cigarette habit, that's for sure.
There's one scene where he's smoking 2 cigarettes.
I didn't even notice that.
I rewatched this with my wife and daughter because they hadn't seen it. At one point, they're like, is he smoking 2 cigarettes? And he was.
It's comical how much he's smoking, and he looks like he's 15. You know, there's Freak, who's we mentioned before, the short guy, curly hair guy. There's one of my favorite characters, Lord Nikon.
I love him.
So named. You know, he's basically like not Neo, but
Morpheus.
He's kind of a Morpheus character, at least that's... Yeah. I mean, obviously this came out way before The Matrix, but he feels like that.
But they kind of treat him that way. He's like he's the older, wiser black man, right? To yes. Johnny Lee Miller's Keanu Reeves.
Oh, wow. The parallels, I never noticed that, but you're right. And they call him Lord Nikon, which is a brand of camera because he has a photographic memory. Mm-hmm.
I never put that together until you said that. That never clicked in my head. I recognized the camera thing. I knew he had a photographic memory. I never connected those.
I can't take credit for that either. I think I read that somewhere when I was looking up stuff about it. But yeah. And then we've mentioned the bad guy played by Fisher Stevens. His handle is The Plague, which is just so 90s. It hurts.
Yep. Don't call him Eugene.
Oh, his name was Eugene?
Yeah. And he rides a skateboard friggin' everywhere. The modes of transportation in the movie crack me up because he rides a skateboard everywhere, and all the good guys are like on rollerblading. The whole time. It's so 90s.
It is very 90s. Yeah, I didn't realize that was so big in that era, but yeah, I guess it was.
It wasn't.
It wasn't?
It was.
I don't remember.
There were a lot of rollerbladers, but it was certainly not an entire like subculture of hackers rolling around on rollerblades. That just gave it a very like Blade Runner-y feel for some reason.
Literally running on blades. Yeah. Well, and also the fact that like, you know, the head of security dude, bad guy would be you know, using a skateboard. I think, you know, he was using a skateboard because he also thought of himself as a hacker. Like he felt like he was just the other side of the coin to the quote unquote good hackers of the so that was his, you know, kind of visual calling card that he's a hacker because I ride a skateboard. Although there was that one scene where also, if it wasn't obvious, we are spoiling the entire movie. Probably should have mentioned that earlier.
The planet
when
gets
he
hacked.
when he does the like, okay, Dade, meet me at this place and give me the floppy disk, and he shows up in a limo.
A ridiculous scene.
But he's tailing the limo with his skateboard and just like skateboards while holding onto the limo and grabs the floppy disk out of his hand. Oh god, that scene.
Which I remember looking really cool in 1995, and in 2023, I'm like, that's so stupid.
It's so stupid.
There's no reason to do that. It's not like he was hiding or like, because Dade is super suspicious, just standing out there waiting for him the whole time. So like,
like on a street corner in the middle of the night. The whole point of a limo is to like be discreet and have protection, but then he completely throws that to the wind by tailing it on a skateboard. It's crazy. Yeah. And then there was one other set of characters I wanted to mention. They were kind of ancillary, but they helped with the end plan when they broadcast, you know, the reveal at the end. They are called Razor and Blade, and they're sort of like in the like hacker subculture club culture thing. I don't know what their actual names were. I'm not sure if they ever gave them.
What were their names in the movie?
But, you know, they were kind of part of the infrastructure, and they helped them out with, you know, the whole broadcast television part of the plan. So anyway, that's roughly the movie. Hacker hacks things. They beat the bad guy. So watching it again for you, I think was probably a similar response as my seeing it for the first time. It's just that everything is so extreme and 90s, and the way they hack is just like I wrote down hacking equals typing very fast. Typing very fast, and the screen, the interface, even though they do show an actual Apple Mac OS desktop occasionally with like icons and, you know, like the menu bar at the top, most of the time they're using a computer, it's essentially like some 3D rendered animation of like flying through some psychedelic thing or some like fake cityscape. And
Yeah,
they
do like
it's
one
insane.
of two things when they're hacking. They either, well, three things, right? You're right. They show them typing on the Mac, which, as you pointed out to me before we started talking here, is a little weird that they were all on Macs. And I don't remember even thinking about it because I don't think I recognize that they were Macs in 1995. But no one was using Mac. No hackers were using Macs then. They were using like Linux boxes or PCs.
Right.
Maybe not even Linux in 95. It might have been like full on Unix. Right? Like nobody was on a Mac then.
Yeah, I don't remember when Linux came out, but was Linux even a thing in 1995?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was just a little after that, but there might have been some early Linux kernel in 95.
It looks like 91, but
Oh.
but I'm not sure.
So then yeah, it was. Then there would have been some Linux users, but I think it was probably mostly Unix and PC and Windows back then.
Yeah. So yeah, that did seem very strange to me. We've already talked about the transportation of all the hackers getting around on rollerblades. I mean, it kind of makes sense in the way that they hack, which is to like go somewhere and have a laptop and do some kind of hacking. So they need like a quick getaway, and a bike would be too much of an issue, and they don't have cars because they're all in high school.
Actually, let's talk about the way that they do their hacking, because I find that really interesting, because they go to payphones. And while there is some really accurate things that they show with freaking and tones and like recording quarters going into the payphones and stuff.
Right,
that's
the phone
not how
freaking, that was definitely a thing, yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually very accurate to the time period, the way that they show it in the movie. There's, you know, the tones that they use aren't the right tones, but other than that,
they probably couldn't be for reasons.
Well, also, can you hear 2600 hertz? No, I didn't think so. I don't know. It's interesting because they go to payphones, and then I'm assuming they're using an acoustic coupler to hook up to their modem, and then they do dial-up to get in. And that's actually really smart, because then they can't be traced back to their house. Because the reason Joey gets busted is when he's doing the hacking, is he's doing it from his bedroom.
Yeah.
They just trace the call.
Rookie move. He was the rookie.
But yeah, you were talking about the way it looks when they're hacking. And I find that you've got your Mac computer where you see the actual text, and some of that's probably right. I don't know. And then you've got your sort of like visualization where you're seeing their thoughts kind of represented by mathematical equations flying by their head.
Oh, the mathematical equations, yeah.
And like both of those, fine. I can get into that. The part that even in 95 was ridiculous is here's this full like 3D rendered fly through of a computer that's what I'm seeing as I'm hacking. And that's not even getting into the bizarre worm and virus stuff that they do.
Yeah. It's super wild, I'm sure, for, you know, because actual hacking, which is generally like just a lot of typing at a screen and trial and
not
error
fast.
And not it's not that exciting visually to watch, especially in 95 when computers, when the internet or just getting on a network of some sort is still, I think, relatively a new idea to the mainstream, and so they don't know any better. They don't know what it looks like, because most people are not hackers, and this is a subculture. You know, so it's niche, and so they can, you know, sure, no, that's what it looks like when they're hacking. Who's going to tell us wrong, except, you know, a vocal minority of people. So, I mean, I understand why they made it that way, but it only looks sillier and wilder as time goes on, because now when I think about when people use computers to do stuff, you know, I mean, most things now are Macs or iPhones or iPads or some similar kind of interface, and they're mainstream. And so this is not a subculture. This is just they're appliances. They're like toasters to people now. And so nobody's dialing up either. Like, I mean, I got my first always on cable internet connection when I went to college back in like
Same.
1999 or the early aughts. So this was a culture that was dying out in the next 5 years after this came out anyway. Now, I have no idea
But we didn't know that then. We thought
That's true.
It could very well have gone this way. It's got a very cyberpunky vibe to it, right?
Yeah.
Where when I was saying Blade Runner earlier, that's the word I was trying to remember, was cyberpunk. It's got a very cyberpunk vibe to it, where like we think that the whole cyberspace internet thing is gonna get bigger and gonna be really important, but it's still gonna be very limited in who knows how to do this stuff. Whereas now it's like, because it wasn't too long after this that script kiddies started being a thing where people would just download stuff off the internet that let them hack without them knowing what they were doing. This was very much in the heyday of you need to know what you're doing in order to do it. Even when they show, like, there's a scene where I think it's serial killer is just keeps pulling out like hacker books from a backpack, and those books were real. Like several of them were were ones I knew about back then, and that's really interesting. There's actually several things that this movie got right about hacking. Notably, there's a lot of social hacking that happens. Mm-hmm. One of the first bits of hacking we see is Dade calls up. I think it's the TV studio he's trying to hack into, where he and Acid Burn get into it. And he's like, "Hey, I'm one of the executives, and I deleted a file. I need to get online. Can you read me the number off the modem?" "Oh, what's the modem?" "Oh, it's the light with the blinky bot. Can you give me the phone number that's on that?" And like that's the first thing he does that we really see, and that's social hacking. And you've got some shoulder surfing that happens at some point with Lord Nikon, where he goes in and he's just watching over people's shoulders to get their passwords, and that's all, and like dumpster diving to get stuff out of there, out of the corporation. All that stuff's very real, and even some of the discussion about commonly used passwords is accurate. Although the passwords themselves that they picked were by no means like. I love that God is one of the like. How did you guess that password?
It's especially
3 letters.
When they put the password on this huge screen, God, like
in plain text. Yeah.
Yes. I was going to mention about the 4 most used passwords because, I mean, I have no idea what that's like now, but it's just funny. It was almost like a backhanded way of like. Trying to be like, hey, don't use short, easily guessable passwords because here's the ones that people use. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. I don't know. That's how I read it. But also it's just like, the ones that they chose, love, sex, secret, and God were the 4 most used passwords.
Which is BS. The most commonly used password back then was password.
Right. Password or password 1, is what I would think. Or password with a 4 as the A kind of a thing.
That's leet speak there, buddy.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, that's a thing that bugged me about this movie. Every time that they don't say leet, they always say elite, which nobody said. Everyone said leet.
Oh, my God. I didn't even realize that's the core, that's what they were trying to get at. I thought it was just like an antiquated way to refer to them, but I didn't get that was leet of the time.
No, I mean that's what leet is, right? It's elite.
Yeah.
But we never said elite. We always shortened it to leet. So that's one of the things that they got wrong, for sure.
I just wanted to mention some of the other things. I just wrote down my thoughts as I was watching it. Some dude in accounting early on in the movie's name was Eddie Vedder. Spelled exactly like the frontman of Pearl Jam, who in 1995 were pretty popular, so maybe that's why, but I just thought that was an odd, random little detail.
Wasn't that the name Dade gave? Like, he used a fake name when he called in. I thought that's where Eddie Vedder came in.
It might have been, yes. It might have been him saying, like, that dude in accounting, Eddie Vedder, making up the name. But I just thought that was wild that was the name they picked. They also played at one point when Dade first goes to kind of like the hacker collective club hangout area. It immediately reminded me of the same kind of like teenage hangout area from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. when I forget what that kid's name is, who eventually turns bad and fights against the turtles. I forget what his name was. Just kids on skateboards and playing video games and using illicit drugs like it was going out of style. They played Wipeout.
And prominently displayed Coke bottles and Coke cans to make sure that they got paid.
Yeah, but they were playing Wipeout. They played that racing game Wipeout on a huge screen, and like Dade beats Acid Burn's score, and she's like, "Oh, this guy moving in on my territory." I thought that was funny.
Arcade games are so important to us in 1995.
Right? Yeah, beating someone's high score is like a huge slap in the face. Oh, and right, we've kind of danced around this idea, but like I feel like a big theme of this was sort of like kids versus adults, because all of the main characters are like teenagers, and like it's funny that like they're doing this quote unquote illicit breaking into computer network stuff, and like you mentioned, one of the guys, Joey, he's trying to download the thing to the floppy disk, and why does it fail? Because his mom comes in and pulls it out, like, oh, mom, and like Dade having to deal with his mom, and just it's like they're doing this fairly like adult sophisticated hacking stuff, and yet they're still at the mercy of the adults. They still have to answer to their mom. I just thought that was an interesting thing, a theme of the movie that I don't know if that's still like a thing that really comes up in tech anymore.
I don't know, but I love it does come up a lot in media in general, though, of just like you've got the teens are the ones who are the revolutionaries, right? They're coming in and disrupting things. That's what you see in like so many movies. Hunger Games. That's basically the entire plot of that. It's like, oh, the teenagers are really starting some stuff up. And basically every young adult book, Divergence, Harry Potter, right? So many of those are basically true. You've got your teenagers against the world. I love that genre of media, of just like I connect to that even as an old man. I'm like, yeah, get those old people. They need to change.
Yeah, totally. It definitely has an overarching kind of theme of that.
I was gonna say I wanted to talk about some like just blatantly wrong for 1995 technology.
Oh, please go ahead.
That's still wrong. So I'll just go through my list and call them out as I see. I think we already mentioned it, but the huge fonts and animations while hacking, kind of ridiculous.
Right.
Necessary to show it on TV, but things like there's a lot of places where their viruses are full on like animations. There's a rotoscope.
It's impressive.
There's not even a rotoscoped guy. There's like a full on, like you couldn't download this in a reasonable amount of time.
Oh, the guy talking about the Da Vinci virus?
The Da Vinci virus. Like that stuff, even in 95, jumped out to me as being like super ridiculous, because I don't know if you were online at all in around that era, but downloading something even over the 28.8 baud modem that they call out at one point was just so fast back then.
Totally
was
fast.
Not fast. It would have taken forever to upload a virus that had the like full on video and audio.
Yeah, the visual fidelity and the audio fidelity.
And somehow it's also an AI. Like they heavily alluded, because when it gets defeated at the end, it goes no.
Yeah.
But like, so all that's ridiculous. But a lot of that, I'm like, okay, fine, visual for the show hacking, conceptually fine. But then there's things like the actual computers in the knock, right? With it's this gigantic screen
with Penn Jillette as a security guard.
Yeah, Penn Jillette is their security guy, Hal, and he's sitting in front of basically a movie screen that has, like you said, the password of the person logged in a font the size of my head.
And the keyboard they use is insane.
Yeah. It looks like something out of Star Trek. It's just a flat panel with circles on it that glows.
Yeah.
And they're like, click, 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 click. Let's see. Oh, and in that same building, there's these towers that are glowing and have like words in them that I think are supposed to be the CPUs. But like why would the CPU show text? It makes no sense. So there's a bunch of really weird stuff in there like that. But there's
Yeah.
also some things that they got really right. There's a VR game that The Plague is using, and that exact VR game existed at that time. We would
Oh.
go to Belmont Park to play it because that was the only
Nice.
place you could go do something like that. I mentioned the modem. That's they got that right. Hex editor.
I was going to mention. I mentioned. I saw the hex editing. Yep.
That's good. Yeah, but the giant monitor towers and stuff, and the flying 3D graphics and
Ooh,
all
on that
stuff,
note,
just not.
when
the
they,
electricity going up the buildings for some reason whenever they're hacking.
yeah, when they're doing the final hack of the Gibson at the end, and they all are just like sitting at payphones in the subway or something. Dade
Upload
puts
your best
on
virus.
Yeah, he puts on a headband with like an eyepiece to look through. What was the point of that?
I mean, it was like a Google Glass, right? Like that.
Yeah,
That's
but what
it
was
looks
he
like
using
Google
that
glasses.
for?
It
Like-
was a second monitor. Was my assumption.
Oh,
That's that.
okay.
Because they had, I mean, they weren't that simple. But like a friend of mine in, I don't know, 98, 99, he had a monitor that he looked like a Borg. It was a monitor that would go over your eye. It was like an eyepiece, and very similar to what Dade uses, except John's was bulkier.
Right.
But like that kind of thing was.
okay.
We all thought wearable computers were going to be much bigger than they ended up being.
Yeah.
Although companies are still working on it.
Well, because there was a huge kind of splash of like just 90s fashion, and that was totally part of it. And also the music, just the soundtrack for it is just, techno.
I love the soundtrack. My old coworker who I used to share an office with, he used to play that soundtrack all the time.
Yeah.
And so when we were watching the movie, and I haven't watched it in like a decade, and one of the songs came on, I'm like, oh, I know this song. What do I know this song from? Who is this? And like, no, it just turns out my office mate used to play it constantly.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, now that we're, this far into this episode, like the reason we chose our podcast episode, or podcast title name, Hack the Gibson, or Hacking the Gibson, but, we changed it to Hacking the Grepson. But so the Gibson is the supercomputer that they're hacking into. And at some point, Dade says like, oh, I know how to win. We got to hack the Gibson. And that has kind of become like a shorthand for just, I mean, it's a meme. It's kind of like kitschy and memey, like, haha, hacking the Gibson. But it's just kind of a shorthand for like sticking it to the man, or like doing any kind of like wild hacking of a system that, might be illicit, might be illegal, but also is like, kind of David and Goliath taking down. And despite the fact that I never saw the movie when this was relevant, like that has entered pop culture, and I hear it all the time. And I think of, anytime someone is like doing any kind of like fun hacking thing where they're like going into a system and changing something about it, or even just putting something together from spare parts, it just represents like this do-it-yourself ethos, and having this knowledge of how technology and computers work so that you can make things or change things in computers or technology, because you have that special knowledge, and that makes you cool and interesting. And that came from this movie. So, I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. I think it's always interesting when something because this movie didn't do well in theaters, but it had a huge like cult following. But I think part of the reason it didn't do well in theaters is there are more hackers in his high school that he meets in like 5 minutes on his first day of high school.
Yeah.
Than we had computers in our high school in 1995. Like, it's unrealistic that there were that many people in this culture. And there were very briefly, like there was sometime between hackers and like the end of the .com bubble bursting. So when I was in college, right, somewhere in that time frame, there was a brief period where like almost maybe kind of hackers culture. Like I kind of saw it, and then it all just .com bubble bursted. Everybody had the internet, all that stuff. It fell off, and then just became script kiddies and stuff. But there was a time when there was some elite hacksaws out there.
Yeah, do you, I mean, obviously people aren't using dial-up really at all anymore to connect to things, because we have, always on connections. Like, Does this kind of culture exist? Could it even exist now? Or what is this culture now, if anything?
I don't think it exists now, and I don't think it really could. If it did, it would be some sort of counterculture. If anything, it would probably be the counterculture movement would be to eschew technology somehow. If you were to really go, it's like if a movie like this came out today, I almost see them trying to shut down all the technology.
Yeah.
And they would go, or maybe go, some other route. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, so one of the things that Dade does, like it seems to be kind of his specialty, is hacking into like infrastructure. Because one of the things he does is at the school, he basically sets a time so that all of the sprinklers go on. Like he's looking at his watch and he's like, okay, it's 9 a.m. And then bing, all the sprinklers go on. And then also later when they're trying to get to, I guess, the subway to do their final hack, he changes the schedule of all the stoplights in the city so they all go green at once and all the cars crash into each other. Like, I mean, is it even possible to do that? Like, are those systems still that hackable, or I don't even know.
It's probably more possible now than it was in 95, because I don't think you would have your sprinklers connected to your computer system in 1995. But now with Internet of Things, you very well might.
Good point.
So I think there's more places that could be hacked now, but the security is a lot stronger now than it was back then, because we've learned, In 95, people could still use rainbow tables to just figure out people's passwords because there was no seeds in the password file, and hell, there were some places that stored them in plain text. The security has improved a lot since hackers, but also what's connected is, someone could hack into a self-driving car and cause mayhem. Like, there's all sorts of places these days. Hack the planet and cause death.
Yeah, so basically, like the pain points or the security, the vulnerabilities of the systems in 1995. Like, are you saying that it felt a little unrealistic that he was able to do that kind of stuff then, but now it's more likely?
Yeah, it's unrealistic that those systems would have been connected to a computer. I could almost buy the stoplights, but the sprinklers, no. There's just no way that would have been hooked up to a computer system. Yeah. So there's a lot of suspension of disbelief around that. But a lot of things at that time were showing like hacking into computers and like changing grades. I think even Ferris Bueller does that.
That's true. Like, he does.
How much earlier is Ferris Bueller? That's like 5 to 10 years earlier.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of those
it's almost 10 years earlier, and he's hacking back then.
Wow. Okay, that's actually impressive. I feel like a lot of that kind of stuff, like you said, was unlikely then and more likely now. And the reason why they went to it anyway is that there was probably a lot of fear that is the kind of thing that hackers would do or could do. And so it's kind of ironic that we have only made it in one way easier for that kind of stuff to happen than we did then by putting, like you said, Internet of Things, like all the stuff is connected to Wi-Fi.
Like someone could break into my house by being like, if you were just an amazing hacker and could bypass all the systems, getting into my house, much easier now. Like, because it could all be done electronically than in 1995. When it would require a physical key or like lock picking or something. Now, like, I have a code to go to my door, and my security system is online and my cameras are all online, and like there's, but they're secured enough where I don't really have to worry about any of that.
So is Hackers the movie, like, what is the word? What was it warning us? Is it a warning?
There's a moment of real prescience. Prescience?
Yeah, prescience.
I think it's Emmanuel Goldstein, serial killer, who says it. He says something like, your name goes through like 14 computers a day, even if you're not doing anything. And
that's a great quote.
He's kind of written off in that as like a conspiracy theory freak. It's heavily implied he's homeless. And that there's something going on with his home life, like with his parents, that they never really touch on. But he's kind of written off as a joke character. But like a lot of the things he says are where I would take warnings out of that movie.
Yeah.
Because he's actually really accurate, and that's before social media and stuff really became a thing. It's really interesting, and that's just like one of them. But that one jumped out, and I explicitly wrote it down. I think mostly it was intended as a fun peek into a potential near future science fiction world, with a little bit of warning here and there.
Yeah.
But I think mostly it's very much an anti-establishment kind of movie.
Yeah.
Which are my favorite.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I enjoyed watching it. I mean, I don't think it's hard to say that it's a good movie. Like, everybody kind of acts not really like real people, and like you said, a lot of the stuff is kind of wild and over dramatic. But
Johnny Lee Miller's American accent is awful.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. He fooled me because I didn't realize he was British until after I looked it up. So
I don't know what part of the country he's supposed to be from, but his accent does not work.
Yeah,
I think he's supposed to be from Washington, and it's like, I'm like, no, that's not a Washingtonian accent.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of the acting really holds up in terms of like good acting, but I think it's still a very like you said, it became kind of a cult thing because I think that it touches on so many different things that are still relevant to today, even if the way that it presented them is, Hollywood. There's so many things that are in this movie that are still relevant to then and even to now that they did get right. And I think a lot of the things that they got wrong were largely just for the movie, like to be big and dramatic on the screen, even if like in real life it wasn't realistic. So
I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad I saw it. It's definitely part of the canon of pop culture and tech movies that should be seen. I think another one that I probably did see at the time was The Net. I don't know if that holds up because I haven't seen it since.
I haven't seen it since the theaters. I have not watched that movie since it came out.
But it definitely had the floppy disk is super important and got to get it because it's got the data on it thing, which is definitely not a thing anymore. But was the plot of many movies.
Now it would be a thumb drive or a password to get into an encrypted file or something.
Yeah. But I really agree with your point about the social engineering part of it. Like, that is something that is always relevant. It's as relevant today as it was then, because despite putting all of our stuff into computers and technology, it's still run by human beings, which are fallible and fall for the same old tricks that they always did, regardless of how good the computer security is. So keep that in mind, everybody.
But I think the movie, if you go back and watch it now, view it through a lens of, like, find the comedy in it, right? I think that movie is very enjoyable if you view it as like a sci-fi comedy, especially now, because there's a lot of ridiculousness in it. That's just gotten more ridiculous with age.
Yeah.
But I think if you view it through that lens, it can be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, well, and you can view it as a comedy because they don't play it as a comedy. I mean, they play it pretty serious most of the time, and so that's why it's so funny now. Yeah, totally. So any other parting thoughts on Hackers, or have we hacked it out?
Nope, that's it.
All right. So go watch Hackers. So yeah, that's our 50th episode of Hacking the Grepson. Here's to 50 more, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, hack the Gibson, hack the planet, and if you want to find more of our attempts at hacking the airwaves, the podcast waves, I don't know, go to hackingthegrepson.com for our other 49 episodes and for all of our future ones. And that's it for now. And for until our next time, we now return you to your regularly scheduled. Oh my God, I totally messed it up. What is the line?
Your
regularly scheduled lives.
Your regularly scheduled lives already in progress.
Yes, and now we return you to your regularly scheduled lives already in progress.